It was a centerpiece of joy and delight, and many people came through here, and there's great memories of this whole area.
But we had wonderful memories, and it's just a very, very big part of my past.
This was a bustling place. People were coming in and out all the time. It's just a shame.
Central Terminal was built in 1929 by New York Central Railroad. The architects were Feldheimer and Wagner. Now, just to let you know, Feldheimer himself worked on Grand Central in New York City, and the firm Feldheimer and Wagner primarily specialized in train station construction. You had frosted glass light fixtures, an Art Deco counter in the restaurant, which was black, gold, and silver. There was a zinc bar here. All the ceiling fixtures were geometric, tight, no chandeliers, just tight to the ceiling. You know, polished marble floors. The tiles are all Gustavino. Notice you're literally in an empty building today, and there's very little, if any, echo. And they're designed acoustically, because in its heyday, you had more than 200 trains a day coming through here. And if the tiles were not acoustical, that would have been quite a racket. So they were designed specifically for that purpose. So the place was basically a jewel box of its day. Well, there's some Art Deco ornamentation. There's some also Art Deco ornamentation. We have 4 canopies on the exterior of the building, and the canopies, Art Deco as an artistic style, was very adaptive. And most people forget, but Art Deco pretty much ranged from like 1900 to like 1939. And in the midst of that period, they discovered King Tut's tomb, and the world literally went gaga for that discovery. So they incorporated lots of Egyptian iconography into Art Deco, and if you look carefully at the canopies outside the terminal, you'll see a winged wheel of a train. The clock is the middle of the concourse, and we relocated it about 3 years ago or so. It was in Chicago, and there was a public campaign, and M&T Bank donated a sizable amount of money to purchase the clock, and the campaign with WBEN Radio allowed us to transport it, to insure it, to repair it, and it basically was re-established in the Central Terminal for that summer. And after that season, we basically gave it on a permanent loan to M&T Bank, which has it in its downtown corporate lobby. The Bison, the original Bison, was adjacent to the access to the train, and the original Bison was stuffed, and he was owned by the Science Museum. He was literally an advertisement. If you got off a train and you had a 3-hour layover, hop in a cab, you're 5 minutes from the Science Museum. What a way to kill a few hours. So he was an ad, really. And then the Science Museum took him back. We also brought him back here. They call him Stuffy. They brought him back here for the 75th anniversary of the Central Terminal. We had him here for the summer as well. And after 1949, the Bison that was in this building was plaster and painted. And most of us believed it was bronze, but it wasn't. Basically, you had 3 private owners, a Telesco, a Tuckman, and a Tony Fedeli. And Tony Fedeli was the best of a bad bunch. Doesn't mean much, but he was the best of a bad bunch. And they ultimately stripped and ruined the building in 20 years. They literally raped this place. And they took, for example, they took every doorknob in the building. Their night watchmen spent the evenings ripping copper pipes out of the wall for scrap metal. You know, and what's unknown to most people is the New York Central Railroad put the building on the real estate market for sale in 1950. So I've always assumed that from 1950 until they closed it in 1979, they probably did minimum maintenance. You know, they just did what they absolutely had to. They didn't make any real capital investments in the building. So when you had 3 private owners who never put a dime into the building, after about almost 30 years of bare maintenance, the building started to deteriorate pretty quickly. The Central Terminal Restoration Corporation was founded in 1997 and took title of a building in that year. The original board of the Central Terminal Restoration Corporation was 3 members. And in the very beginning, one of them resigned. One had brain surgery, which pretty much left the operation up to like 1 guy. Well, since taking title of the building, in the very beginning when we had very little operating funds or capital, we had at least made 2 simple commitments. Number one is we secured the building. And the other thing we did, we made a commitment to the neighborhood, was that we would keep the grass cut and the garbage picked up as best we could. And in the very beginning, those early years, this literally was an illegal dump that we had to chase people and the like. Since then, we've received various grants from various sources, and collectively, for example, we've pumped out 1.25 million gallons of water from the lower levels. We enclosed over 4,000 windows, repaired the roofs, took out over 300 tons of debris, cleaned out the restaurant, some of the mezzanine floors, some of the tower floors, additional security around the building. There's an electronic security system, fencing to keep people away from the building. We've paved the parking lot. For the last 4 years, the Central Terminal has had well over 100,000 visitors, and it's used for a variety of things. In some cases, some of the alternative press in Buffalo have called the building the unofficial convention center. We've had events here ranging from a Brewfest, Dingus Day, Oktoberfest celebrations, a wine cider farmers market. We've had films shot here. Plays have been held here. We've had film premieres here. With all the conversions of loft spaces in downtown into residential, a lot of like printing companies, design companies, computer firms, dance studios, art studios are looking for space. We're not-for-profit, and we're hoping to attract some permanent tenancy here. We're also working on acquiring the adjacent properties to the Central Terminal, which is known as 59 Memorial Drive. Future generations will thank us for our efforts on behalf of this building, because we've preserved something that many had given up on. They abandoned the Central Terminal. We didn't. And through a lot of hard work and efforts by volunteers and things, we have basically now made the building part of the cultural landscape in Buffalo and Western New York. When people think of great architecture here, they think about Frank Lloyd Wright, Louis Sullivan, Frederick Law Olmsted, Richardson, and the Central Terminal.